The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Gerard Aartsen, and we're going to be talking to Gerard about UFOs this hour. Now, through his research into the work of George Adamski, arguably the most famous of early contactees, our guest this hour, Gerard, has uncovered the true significance of the coming of UFOs and the increased sightings. He refrains the discussion about the relevance of Adamski's mission in preparation for for a complete restructuring of our world. Joining me now from the Netherlands is Gerard Aartsen. And Gerard, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you very much, Rob. Thanks for having me.
It's great talking to you, Gerard. Tell our listeners a little bit about who George Adamski was.
George Adamski was the first American, in any case, and the first person in the world, I believe, to write about his experiences, to come out about his experiences of seeing a flying saucer land almost in front of him and speaking to one of the occupants. There have been other people after him who came out with their stories. Some of them happened apparently before Adamski's meeting in the desert. It was on the 20th of November in 1952. But Adamski was the very first person to come out with that and to write about it and speak about it openly.
Now tell me, Gerard, why do you think that the Adamski sighting and the Adamski contact is still relevant in today's society?
It's very much relevant because it was really the first contact case that received so much world attention around the world, and the purpose for that attention was to make the people, the Earth's population, aware of the fact that we're not alone. But because he was drawing so much attention, and he was asked to bring a message of hope in the midst of the Cold War, the psychological threat that was going on between the Soviets and the Americans, the authorities decided that they wanted nothing of it, and started a disinformation campaign, basically, to make him and other contactees look ridiculous, and started to deride him and defame him. So that by the early 1960s, nobody was taking him or most of the other contactees seriously anymore, with a lot of conspiracy theories as a result. So the relevance of Adamski's case is, apart from the fact that it's been kept from the public, is that we need to be aware as a human race that we are not the only intelligent life in the universe, far from it, in fact. And there are people out there who are concerned about our well-being, not only, but also about the well-being of our solar system. And that's why they're here.
All right, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break, Gerard. We'll be right back. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Exo Nation, this is going to be a very interesting hour. My guest this hour is George Aartsen, and he is an educator at the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands. He is author of George Adamski, a herald for the Space Brothers. His website is www.bgapublications.nl. That's www.bgapublications.nl. and Gerard, and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break, continuing our conversation about Georgia Dembski, UFOs, contacts, and much more as the X Zone continues. This hour, as we do every hour and have for the past 20 years, from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
And welcome back to the X Zone. My special guest this hour is Gerard Aartsen. His website is www.bgapublications.nl, and we're speaking to Gerard from his home in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. We're talking about the spirituality basically behind UFOs. Georgia Dembski is the first topic that we're talking about. And I must ask you, Gerard, why do you think that it was Georgia Dembski who was chosen to have first contact?
That's a hard one, a tough one to answer. My guess would be based on what I found out about him, and that not many people believe, and I can't blame them. But he seems to have been a soul from the planet Venus who came into incarnation on our planet. For this mission, particularly for this mission. And in fact, he was trained as a teenager in Tibet by the masters. Some would call them yogis, but I think they're a bit more than yogis. Masters of wisdom who have their ancient retreats in the mountains of Tibet and other places. And he was sent there as a teenager to be trained and in a way for his future mission as the first person to speak to the world and write for the world about the extraterrestrial presence.
How do we know that Georgia Dembski really did have contact and that he just wasn't a glory seeker?
Well, Well, many people have accused him of being in it for the money, but he never really had any personal effects to speak of. And he really only did what he was asked to do. He endured a lot of ridicule and defamation. So his career in that respect wasn't a pleasant one. But he held on to it, and he always stuck to the facts as he had presented them from the beginning. And I think that says a lot for him in terms of character.
Now,
and for the rest, I think it's up to people to read his books. Most of his books, was relevant books in terms of the UFO phenomenon, are still available secondhand and even new from the George Adamski Foundation. So his material is still in print. In Japan, by the way, very interesting, they have his collected writings, and just 2 years ago they added a 9th volume to his collected writings in Japanese. So people there seem to think he's still very, very relevant.
Now tell me, where did your interest in UFOs and George Adamski come from?
I've been a student of what is called the ageless wisdom teachings, the teachings of the ages. The teachings really that are at the core of every religion, every major school of philosophy. And perhaps people have heard of Madame Blavatsky,
certainly,
Alice Bailey. So I started studying those teachings, and at one point during my research and study, I came across George Adamski's first book, and that is called Wisdom of the Masters of the Far East. Madame Blavatsky, if listeners don't know that, was the first of a series of disciples to take the teachings, the Ageless Wisdom teachings, to a new audience, a Western audience, that was really very enamored with the Enlightenment school of science and philosophy, and she was the first really to introduce to the Western audience the idea of the evolution of consciousness rather than the evolution of the form, which Darwin had documented in great detail. But she said the evolution of form is really there to facilitate the evolution of consciousness. And through almost seemingly endless string of incarnation after incarnation, we slowly come to a point of perfecting the expression of our real divine nature, our divine essence, if you will. And so the teachings that she was asked to give to the world, she was given by some of the masters of wisdom, who are the next kingdom in nature up from the human kingdom. They have evolved. They're like people like us, but they have evolved to the next stage. And many of them have stayed behind to guide and inspire humanity. And as I just mentioned, George Adamski studied as a teenager with some of the masters of wisdom, and his first book contains, it's a very small booklet, but it contains everything really that people need to know about the wisdom teachings and the spiritual basis of life.
You know, it's not the size of the book that matters; it's the content of the book. So whether it's
absolutely,
so I agree with you at that point. Now, tell me, do you think that after all the studying that you've done and all the research you've done, that there's a connection between UFO sightings and contact and religious philosophies?
Yes, very much so. In fact, I think if you look at the writings of the early contactees, among whom George Adamski, but also Daniel Fry, Truman Bethurum, Orville Angelucci, and several others, you will find that at the core of the teachings that they were asked to bring to the world, we'll find exactly the same thing as we find at the core of our Earth's religions, all of them, which is summarized by the Golden Rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And it's exactly the same.
Same message.
And that's fascinating, of course.
Certainly is. Now, I was wondering if you could say something about the extraordinary photographs that you have in your book of an E.T. pilot and the control cabin of a flying saucer. My question to you about this photograph or these photographs is, who made them and where did you find these?
Yes, it's interesting because I found them in books that were written by an Italian diplomat, Alberto Perego. And his books have never been translated into English, so they have never been consulted by other UFO researchers. I was lucky enough to have a friend who is Italian, and when I heard about these books, I managed to find copies secondhand, and I came across these photographs, which I thought were amazing, really, to have these photographs that nobody apparently in the English-speaking world had even known about in terms of their existence. So I found them in those books, and there were some very relevant passages in the writing of this diplomat. This was someone in the service of the Italian government for many years, and he served his government, represented his government, his country in many countries around the world. At the same time, he was almost as important for ufology in Italy as George Adamski was in the United States. And Alberto Perego was one of a large group of Italians, some of them very well known in society, and others common people, who had regular contacts with extraterrestrials who were working and living in underground bases around Italy and, in fact, around Europe. And one other person who was involved in that group, and the case has become known recently through the translation of an Italian book from 2007 called Mass Contacts, came out in English in 2009. Another person was a journalist at the time, Italian journalist, very well known, science and aviation journalist by the name of Bruno Ghibodi. And he was present when, in 1958, October, I believe it was, a flying saucer was made visible and landed near Francavilla in Italy. And he and a companion were allowed to take photographs of a pilot and the interior of the cabin. And that's the history of these remarkable photographs that, before I reproduced them, nobody knew existed.
Tell me, why do you think it is that these visitors, for a lack of better words, are very subjective on who they reveal themselves to? Why don't they just, show themselves to the masses once and for all, so that all the speculation and skepticism can be once and for all dissolved? Yes,
I understand your question, and in a way, I think that's what they're doing with an greatly increased number of sightings, especially since 2007, apparently. When the statistics of sightings has gone up dramatically. And on the other hand, they were in contact, and maybe they still are, maybe they've always been, in contact with several governments around the world in the 1950s. And they offered their assistance, technological and otherwise, if we would give up our pursuit of nuclear power and nuclear bombs, etc. Because that's one of their main concerns, that we blow ourselves up and thereby affect the integrity of the solar system. The governments, especially the US government, also the UK government, maybe the Russian government, I don't know, declined. And that's when the extraterrestrial visitors decided, well, if the governments don't want their populace to know about our existence, we'll take the long route. And so they decided to continue to introduce themselves to individuals rather than in mass sightings. Because the idea was in the 1950s that they would be introduced to the world by the world's governments. And as I said, they declined. So they chose the way of going through individual contacts.
I don't know. To me, it would be to their benefit if the government didn't want to make the introduction to the masses, that they just make this landing where the news media of the day would get it around the world. And by doing that, the governments could not perpetrate this alleged conspiracy and cover-up that is in place.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
It's just that they would never, just like the Masters of Wisdom, they would never infringe our free will, and they respect our governments, especially in those days, but they still do, even if we don't,
Gotcha.
our governments as the representatives of the people. And because we chose those governments, we elected those governments. The governments declined to accept their offer. They decided,
to go the individual route.
Sorry?
I said to go the individual route. Stand by,
Yes.
Gerard. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation. Interesting gentleman. Gerard Aartsen is his name. His website is www.bgapublications.nl. That's bgapublications.nl. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue talking about UFOs this hour in the X Zone.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies,
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows,
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. The X Chronicles newspaper for October. Our special Halloween edition will be sent around the world next Wednesday, the 24th of October. And then the November issue. And then, of course, our second biggest issue is our December edition of the X Chronicles newspaper. Now, if you'd like to read online versions, just go to www.xchronicles-newspaperstand.htm. My guest this hour is Gerard Aartsen. We're talking about UFOs, George Adamski, the early contacts. And if you'd like more information about our guest this hour, Gerard, you can go to www.bgapublications.nl. That's www.bgapublications.nl. Before we went to the commercial break with the news, Gerard, you and I were talking about why the visitors, whether they're from another dimension or from another planet, don't make their presence known. And you know, it seems that they don't want to interfere where they're not wanted. Then we talked about the reason why they want to make contact is because of, going back into the 50s, the very delicate balance that the United States and the USSR were playing with Cold War and nuclear weapons. Here we are in the year 2012, and we have countries like Iran who are now within years of developing their own nuclear weapon. Why don't they interfere and do something that would show Iran that, hey, you just can't do this?
Well, I'm not sure if they would do that, because we have many nations by now that have nuclear capability.
Mm-hmm.
And if many nations have nuclear capability, we could say, well, why does not every nation have a right to have a nuclear capability?
Mm-hmm.
Besides, Iran, as far as I understand, has made it very clear that they are not pursuing nuclear weapons for offensive means. And that's open to debate depending on your political affiliation or your political views. But
Mm-hmm.
It's again a part of their non-interference. It's like the Star Trek Prime Directive.
Yeah.
We don't interfere, but I'm sure they will interfere if it comes to a head, and there would be people would be actually pressing
the
buttons
button,
for nuclear bombs.
Let me
They
ask.
would definitely interfere then.
Let me ask you this, Gerard. Where do you think these visitors come from? Do you think that they're from other planets in the solar system, outside the solar system, or are they interdimensional travelers?
I'll tell you what I know,
Okay.
Because I haven't met any of them myself. But George Adamski insisted throughout his life, from his first meeting, that they came from Venus, Mars, and other planets, Saturn, other planets in our solar system. His views were supported, corroborated by Wilbert Smith, your own very own Canadian government researcher into aerial phenomena in the 1950s. And again, also by Bruno Gibodi, the Italian journalist that I mentioned. These are just some people that I know of who insist that they are from planets within our own solar system. The point is that in general, we don't see that life is the cause rather than an effect of a chemical accident somewhere in the in the back alley of the Milky Way.
Gotcha.
Life is the cause of everything. And so whatever we see in the universe is an expression of that life. And in life, for that matter, doesn't need a dense physical, a solid physical form to express itself in. It may also express in matter of higher vibration, which is out of our range of vision, but therefore still, is still physical. And there are several scientists who have indicated, have researched these higher levels of matter. There's Wilhelm Reich, an Austrian doctor who fled to the States from the Nazis. There's Rupert Sheldrake, a more recent British biologist who talks about morphogenetic fields and informative causation. And we have our own scientists who are chasing this elusive God particle, the Higgs boson, which they now think they may have found a trace of, in order to establish for a fact the existence of 96% of the known universe. So there's a whole layer of matter that we haven't quite managed to measure and to establish with our own limited scientific means. So I have no problems in believing Adamski and Smith and Gabodi, who say that they are from the other planets in our system, except on a level of matter where we can't see them, just because the rate of vibration of their atoms is higher in their natural state. If they want to be seen, really all they need to do is sort of flick a switch, and they lower the rate of vibration of the atoms of their ships and their bodies, and we can see them. And the next moment, they flick back the switch, they'll be invisible again. And
So basically,
I think
like on Star Trek with the Klingons and their cloaking device.
Something like that, even though, although that would be more of a device to go invisible for enemies or whatever. But for them, it's more of their natural state, and whenever they are seen, it's because they want to be seen. It's not a matter of coincidence or anything like that.
Gerard, you say your book examines the UFO phenomenon against the background of the global changes taking place. Can you elaborate on this, and what changes are you talking about?
Well, as we can see, it's very interesting. It's such an exciting time to live right now, because we can see all the traditional structures falling by the wayside, crumbling before our eyes, the political system, the financial system, the economic system, the educational system. One by one, it's clear that they are no longer working, no longer fulfilling the needs of the people. And governments, elections don't really result into favorable conditions for forming a government. When governments are formed, they have no real vision of how to get out of this economic problem. All our structures are based, especially the last 40 years, on greed and competition, it seems, and separation and conflict. And these are no longer working, and the people are catching on to that. If we look at the protest movements that started with the Arab Spring, then went on with the student movements in Southern Europe, which developed into the whole worldwide Occupy movement, we can see that there's this growing tide of people who understand that their needs are no longer fulfilled and looked after by the traditional structures and the traditional systems. And in fact, in an article from 1962, and in his book Inside the Spaceships, Adamski not really predicted, but he referred to this time of social upheaval, and that's what we're seeing now. And it's like humanity's awakening again it's awakening from its cosmic slumber and awakening to its divine nature. And in order to assist humanity in its transition into this new state of awareness, the UFOs are here to help us.
Now, something else that you say in your book, you say the message from space is that life is one and that we should live as one. Can you explain exactly what you mean by this?
Well, as I said, life is the cause of everything. It's not an effect. And that means that we are all brothers and sisters of one humanity. We are all one part, as a human race, of an integral part of this planet. We are not the only part. We are not the ones who can decide whether or not to ruin this planet or to pillage it and pollute it. And we need to realize that we are an integral part and that we have a large responsibility, big responsibility. And we, at the same time, we are also part of this solar system. So when the people from space tell us, well, life is one, and unless you learn to live as one, you will destroy yourselves. And that's the same message that the Masters of Wisdom are giving us through their teachings. And that relates directly to what you were just asking about, the social changes that we see around the world, happening around the world now. It is really humanity that we see awakening to this realization of oneness. And of course, we need to find new structures. You know, when I say the old structures are no longer working, that means we do not yet have the new structures to express that oneness, to implement the things that we need to move away from the precipice, move away from greed and competition, and move into the direction of sharing and cooperation to prevent us from destroying the world. So that's what that message relates to.
Once again, I'd like to bring you back to George Adamski. Were there other people who were being contacted at the same time as Adamski, and were all the contacts that were happening in these early days, were the visitors from the same place, or were different contactees experiencing contact with people from different parts of the solar system or the galaxy?
It's interesting because on the exact same day, 20th of November 1952, that George Adamski had his first contact, a person, a physicist in Brazil, he wrote about his experiences under a pseudonym, Dino Kraspedon. He was contacted on exactly the same day, and he was asked to bring the same message to the world. His book came out much later, and that's why Adamski is generally seen, at least by me, but also by many others, as a trailblazer in this respect. But his contact happened on exactly the same day. Other contacts happened before Adamski's, and many contacts happened since Adamski's. And I can't say I've read all of the accounts of the early contactees, but from the ones that I've read, some that came out after Adamski's books and after he started to be defamed by governments or military interests or the media, Apparently, they chose to avoid that avenue, and they said they were from outside our solar system. But I think that's just to avoid ridicule. Also, because the state-of-the-art probes at that time were already indicating that life, at least as we know it on this planet, was not possible on the other planets in our solar system. So they preferred not to be ridiculed as Adamski was, and they came up with fantasy names.
What about
planets that?
What about people like Billy Meyer in Switzerland, who has caused quite a controversy as far as ET contacts? A lot of his photographs have been exposed as fakes. And how does the hoaxer, the faker, affect the credibility of people who have had these encounters?
Well, obviously, hoaxers do not contribute very much to the acceptance and the perception of the normalcy of the visitors from space. Myself, I'm not convinced that Billy Meyer is a hoaxer. There may be photographs that are not entirely the real thing, and I'm sure there are many, especially now in the days of Photoshop. But I personally believe that the majority of the Billy Meyer photographs are real. But he's a good example of someone who knows very well what happened to Adamski, and so he says that his contacts are from the Pleiades, which I think wouldn't make much sense because there's planets and civilizations in our own solar system that are far beyond ours, and there's so much to learn from them for us in a more natural way. And therefore, I don't think it would make much sense for Pleiadian civilizations to contact us.
All right, Gerard, please stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exonation Gerard Aartsen is our special guest. BGA Publications. That's bgapublications.nl. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until, 2 a.m. Eastern. And on the weekend, from 2 a.m. until 8 a.m. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies,
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows,
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well, now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Explanation, our guest this hour is Gerard Aartsen, www.bgapublications.nl. Gerard, first of all, I want to thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. I wish you continued success in getting the word of the Space Brothers or those from the other planets or the interdimensionals to the people. And I would like to ask you a hypothetical question, if I may. Let us say you're driving your car in the countryside of the Netherlands. You turn a corner and smack dab in front of you is a spacecraft. Outside of the spacecraft are a couple of extraterrestrials or Space Brothers. How would you conduct a conversation with them?
If they wanted a conversation with me, I'm sure they'd be able to make that known telepathically.
What would you ask them? What questions would you ask?
Sorry?
What questions would you ask?
What questions would I ask? I think the first question would be, could you take me along for a ride?
I think everybody would like that.
Exactly, yeah. I would not pass on that one.
No.
I remember one time sitting at the lunch table when I was still living with my parents, and that's what I told my mom. If I saw UFO land, I would get on without thinking about it. And she said, "But you don't even know if they'll have bread."
Typical mother, right?
You're very
Typical
practical.
mother. Tell me, we've got about a minute left. So, do you think that if the population of the planet Earth was to fully comprehend and accept the notion that the extraterrestrials are here, that there would be a collapse of government and religion as we know it?
Yes, quite definitely, and that's exactly the reason why they don't show en masse before governments acknowledge their existence. And they are only here in support of what's happening, and we're living in momentous times, momentous transitions taking place, and until humanity has reconnected with its spiritual source, with its spiritual essence, as expressed in all the many various religions, there will not be open contact with the extraterrestrial brothers and sisters.
Gerard, I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. Please come back and see us again. I'd love to talk to you more about UFOs, Georgia Dembski, and contact.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Take care of yourself, and thank you once again. Exonation, our guest this hour has been Gerard Aartsen. We've been talking about Georgia Dembski, UFOs, as well as the spirituality behind UFOs. For more information, please visit his website, www.bgapublications.nl. That's www.bgapublications.nl. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the hour as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. You can listen to the X Zone archives with our compliments 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day at www.xzonepodcast.com. And it's only fair to say that not only our compliments, but the compliments of our many advertisers. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Don't go away.